right? We spoke about the culture, we spoke about how technology will do its bit, but how the culture or the people or the resource or the talent is also going to be the most important asset that we are going to build. And to do justice to the topic, a quick one, we have Dr. KushalSanghvi. He's a business head, Reliance Entertainment and Digital. Kushal, can we have you on the stage, please? His topic is Cultivating Continuous Transformation. And I thought, I know he thought that his session was after some time, but I've just invited him. So a round of applause for him for being the sport he is.
Thanks. So I think I won't talk about a lot of the stuff that was already spoken amongst the 25 of us in the morning. But I'm going to just try and give you a nugget essentially in terms of, we speak about the word digital, we speak about the word omnichannel, we speak about the word big data, we speak about the word analytics, intelligence, and what have you. But I think what's critically important in today's sort of organizations is being able to even start at the most grassroots level. So for example, how many of us by show of hands have gone to some or the other campus at some point in time to sort of recruit talent? At least 1/4 of the audience, right? So in the good old days, you would sort of, I think, go for, you know, you sort of have a score sent to you, and then you'd go for a, you know, sort of an interview process, you do group discussions, and then sort of try and inculcate those people back in your organizations. But LinkedIn has made it more easier now. So sort of, for example, even students put up their profiles and bios on sort of LinkedIn, and you're able to assimilate in terms of, depending in terms of how he or she has put up his profile, at least a company can try and figure out a way to sort of, I think, almost shortlist people just using social platforms. So the point I'm trying to make is that it's not just the power of social, but I think it's just the way how we are as companies becoming more progressive to almost recruit talent, and not only at the most, I think, junior level, but right up the entire curve. I think culture starts right from the kind of people that we bring. So I am of the firm belief that if an organization needs to succeed, it's the people that matter most. You know, we could do whatever we want to. We could work with the largest companies, be it Microsoft, Google, Oracle, and what have you. But ultimately, the organizations are going to be able to prosper because of the human talent and the assets they have. And I think what's most important to ponder over is the fact that I think I've seen a lot of companies that have the experiences of, I think, travel world over as well. And I've seen, I think, certain companies, I won't take names of them, they actually take snapshots of, I think, prospective candidates in terms of not what they're doing on a LinkedIn, but they're actually saying, let me see that same profile of the same person, because when I'm almost shortlisting a person, can I see what his attributes are on perhaps platforms like a Twitter, a Facebook, a Snapchat, and what have you. So the person could be exceptionally talented in terms of sort of his qualifications, but for example, if his way of articulating thoughts, or for example his language or his ability to sort of express is in a different, inappropriate manner on some social platforms, that's exactly where those organizations have said, no, let's not take this gentleman or this girl, simply because of the fact that how that person almost puts a different character on social platforms, because you really can't have two shades, right? You can't be some X person on a Facebook, and you can't be a Y person on a LinkedIn, and you can't be a Z person in the campus. So that's exactly in terms of, I think, from a cultural standpoint, what's really very critical to sort of, I think, look at is to sort of harness the right talent. I'll go a step forward, and I've had the fortune to sort of, in fact, have friends in multiple sort of companies who've sort of had the same discussion with me, saying it's becoming increasingly difficult for them to spend large amounts of money with consultants today. Consultants come with their own sort of, I think, sort of packages saying X percentages fee to recruit CXO, CTO, what have you. So gone are the days when you sort of really have a large of those companies existing, and what you really do have is what I think some companies in the US have begun to do is what they've called a social career anthropologist. So what that gentleman is doing is he's tracking real-time data of, for example, CXOs who want to shift their jobs. So what really happens is exactly at the point that someone made earlier is sort of, you know, in case of someone is going closer to his targets, or someone is not going closer to targets in the last, say, 3 quarters, chances are he is most willing to perhaps want to shift his job, right? So there is a very high probability that sort of I think that anthropologist is going to be able to sort of say, you know, and what they're doing is they're almost making then clusters or even heat maps of those people in those areas where they can actually poach from. So for example, if Cadbury was to sort of poach people from a Nestle, they know exactly in terms of what time of the day that person is most amenable to perhaps get an email into his mailbox and say, are you looking for a job? So that's the level of almost sort of I think what is happening at the back down in terms of sort of I think when you want the right talent to sort of almost reach out, because ultimately the fact is sort of yes, a lot of us get sort of opportunities to say, hey, would you want to leave your current job and join somewhere else? But the point is sort of, do you get it rightly from the relevant person and not just from someone who is sort of just throwing you an option as well? So that's in terms of just, I'm giving you a perspective of recruitment. I'll go a step forward in terms of today what companies are doing from a training perspective. So a lot of people are not necessarily, for example, social as people. They could be introverts as well. How do we change an introvert to become a little more talkative? And what you realize is there are a lot of people who are more, I think, easy to put up, say for example, a expression on a social platform, but when you meet in a forum on a table of even 10 people, the same person goes a little more submissive and says, I really can't talk about anything else, right? So there are organizations who are trying really, really hard to, I think, make those people, because ultimately I think what's really happening is sort of, and perhaps India is a little exceptional because as people, I think we are sort of more sort of, I think, getting out, more talkative, more chatty as compared to sort of if you sort of look at people back in sort of in Japan or Korea or other markets of the world as well. So I think therefore I'm going to keep repeating myself that from a organization, small, medium or large, I think therefore it's very, very critical to sort of I think be able to have sessions with your people to make them more conversant with technology, because there are so many departments in an organization who perhaps do not even know the exact meaning of digital. It's perhaps the most abused word today, at least within India, with what study happened 3 weeks ago. But you know, try and talk to a person who is completely in manufacturing, or try and talk to a creative guy in your organization, try and talk to someone else, and he couldn't know a shit about CRM or big data analytics. But therefore, I think what's really important is there a way to try and get organizations together across various sort of functions to try and say that this is what we really want to sort of do. So whether you're a pharma company, you're a manufacturing company, you're making sort of chocolates, you're making sort of towers, you're making whatever, there are multiple people across those groups who have no idea. So I think as part of induction process, therefore, I think it's probably important for HR or administrative or what have you to try and give a sense in terms of vision of the company. And you know what, I think so in the good old days when you join a new company, you just get a little brochure, a little 50-minute talk. But can we, for example, talk through in terms of sort of where digitization is happening across the company? And that's something which I think all of us being CDOs, CIOs, CXOs must take cognizance of and try and put that sort of forward as well to sort of, I think, our people. And last but not the least, I would want to sort of only sort of, I think, leave a small sort of, I don't know what the right word is, but even if I'm assuming that out of 25, a lot of us today have a habit of exchanging a card. I did that just a while back. And I would just think that I think, not to say that I'm a huge supporter of sort of Mother Earth, but I think we're in a space of, if we're saying digitization, it begins from this simple thing. I would really push everyone to sort of, I think, try and sort of figure out a way and means to sort of, I think, at forums like this, or otherwise to stop using paper and to sort of, I think, really get out there and figure out a way to sort of just exchange through any other medium, be it LinkedIn, be it a platform which you can just shake your mobile and what have you. Thanks, that's culture. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was a very, very interesting perspective on the whole digital transformation. And can I call Vishnu once again, please, for a quick chat? Kushal, you spoke about the most important element in this transformation, which is the human resource, the way we think, the way we act. And especially for the manufacturing companies where, as I said in the earlier conversation, the people in the process are scattered, right? So while you've spoken about strategies, what are the three things that the company should not do when they're trying to bring in the transformation, the cultural transformation in companies?
If it's a manufacturing company, if that's sort of the sort of vertical that I'd like to talk about, I would rather think that, I think, let's not firstly, I think, try and get some of the guys who don't know technology a little flustered. Because for some of them, still technology is a different animal or a beast. So we can just make it a little easy, make it more comfortable. That's number one. Second is, I would think that sometimes, a lot of times, not sometimes, I would think that there should be times wherein, even I think there was a discussion in terms of, big data, isolation, stone wall, all of those things, but there will be areas in terms of sort of, I think sometimes even if the guy wants to know what his sort of customers are, he's not necessarily supposed to know it. So I would clearly say that if it is in this space, it's fine to sort of, I think, stonewall internally and have data with only those relevant sets of people and not just sort of, I think, share it because of the fact that, hey, you want to know who your customer really is. And I think last but not the least, perhaps I would think that also in the same sort of vertical, it's critically important to, I think, be able to, I think, manufacturing, I think, is going hand in glove with the point of sort of saying that how do you manufacture for the future ahead, right? So in the good old days, Mahindra or Tata Motors or whatever would sort of, I think, make a car for a car. Today you make a car for not a car, but you make a car for keeping in mind sort of a smart city, right? Yeah. So your car can talk to your gadget at home, your car can talk to your sort of device at home, your car can give you alerts and what have you. So it's not about just a car, but any manufacturing has got to be keeping in mind in terms of just the way future is.
Right. And Vishnu, wanted to take your insights on, we all spoke about how there are these digital first companies and then there are traditional companies who are trying to imbibe or transition themselves into the digital piece. What would be your advice to them as to how they should take a step-by-step approach towards making sure that they're optimizing this space? You have a label here.
So here is the thing, right? Particularly in manufacturing. So we have a huge digital divide, what we see is, right? On one side, on the shop floors, we have, is there an echo? Yeah. On one side, on shop floors, we see very senior people, 30 years, 35 years experienced people who know even their equipment plant in and out, right? I mean, they can see, they can touch and say, what's the problem? That's on one side. And another side, we are getting all these millennials who are coming with a lot of, energy and a lot of exuberance to do something new, to do something, great. So how do you combine these two cultures together? That's a very, very big challenge for manufacturers, and there is no silver bullet for that. But yeah, so where we see is actually creating the employee engagement together, right? One single platform where actually people minds meet the other people minds. That's where I see the possibility of getting that, the old generation has a lot of experience, they have a lot of knowledge. So they imparting that to the newer generation and the newer ideas from the generation exchanging, right? So you need to have a platform where this exchange happens. So that's where it actually creates that vigor in the organization to go towards the digital.
And lastly, I would want to ask both of you that, easier said than done. The mind mold is the toughest mold to break. So how should then the companies, like you can give them a solution, you can tell them that it's very important for you to imbibe technology or get oriented towards the newer technologies, but there's inertia, then there is mind blocks. What do you think should be then done to make sure that they are the probable sponge to soak in the new realities?
So the point I made earlier is that sort of, I think, if you're going to try and sort of, I think, tell someone who doesn't understand technology that, hey, this is technology, he'll never learn it. So if you're able to sort of, I think, put another word to it and make it easy for him or her to realize that it's part of his work itself and this is not a different aspect to it and it's part of his culture, it's part of the way he sort of is going to be part of that system. and not sort of almost say that, hey, this is difficult and this is sort of, it's sort of got dots and is sort of machine to look at, it's got something else in terms of software, because you really can't talk to a person who's making, say for example, his job is to make formulations in drugs, right, to sort of say that, hey, now you're going to sort of write code, or you go to sort of, I think, decode something which is sent to you an email or something. He's going to get, like, oh God, I have to come here for a job to sort of make tablets, and I've not come here to sort of, I think, dissect code or to read code as well. So if you're able to sort of, I think, make it sort of easy, and technology is sort of, I think, trying to, at all touch points, make our lives, I think, easier, is what even sort of, I think, what India is trying to poise it for, right? So I think if we are able as organizations to therefore, I think, make, I think, this whole digital transformation across the organization sort of easy, flowing, and not seem like, oh God, we're taking a different leap and we're changing. So these words which are sort of, therefore I'm sort of little not liking these sort of larger words saying transformation. Just sounds, oh God, like, you know, it's like you're changing like the whole thing. It's like a huge task. Just make it sound like sort of, we're just sort of, you know, we're just making call it easy. I don't know, whatever it is.
So Vishnu, your
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we make a huge mountain out of this transformation thing. Yeah, there will be certain transformation opportunities which come along the way, but if you want to build a real digital culture, like a friend has said, it has to be the part of the life, right? It has to be, look, you are doing this day in and day out, right? And then with this digital, it will become much simpler for you. So I'll give you an example. We are working with the PSU today, right? So they have like 30 furnaces, and so there is a person who always goes there to that furnace to write the temperature and come back. So he does that every 1 hour. So there are people just to do this activity, right? Now, you know, forgetting about the technology. So what we are talking to them is, can we make that automated so that sitting at one single place, you will be able to monitor all those and then control those furnaces remotely? Will that make your life simpler, right? They're really excited about it. They're going forward with that. So the same organization, they have been debating about what is a digital transformation strategy for past 7 months. They're still figuring that out. But unknowingly, picking these simple things of how to make life simple for the day-to-day activities, they've already gone on the path of the digital, right? So I think he has very rightly said, it's about making that day-to-day life digital rather than just thinking, okay, oh God, I'll get a big transformation out of digital and my company will just turn upside down. I think very, very valuable.
So we'll not make the demon about the technology or the data or transformation. Thank you so much, gentlemen. A round of applause for both of them. And can we have a quick token of appreciation? Vishnu, I would want you to present it to Kushal.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen. And